What does a community association do? How do I stay involved in local politics? Why does shopping local matter? Engaged Citizen is a field guide for those curious about changing the way they engage with their local community. Each episode examines a popular concept through expert interviews delivered in layman's terms. Welcome to Engaged Citizen, an informative docuseries inspiring the next group of engaged citizens. Today's episode is on community media. We're talking about truly alternative radio stations, newspapers, or established blogs that use their voice to promote and amplify those outside of the mainstream. Hopefully, we can shed some light as to how community media directly influences local arts and culture and can act as an incubator and a tastemaker to promote local talent or movements unique to that regionally specific area. First up, CKXU 88.3. Self-described as a volunteer-driven radio society that provides independent campus and community radio from the University of Lethbridge, broadcasting from the traditional territories of Niitsitapi, Tsuut'ina, Stoney Nakoda, and Métis people, relying on community donations and pledges to keep them going since 1972. Full disclosure, I love quote-unquote college radio. They have deeply informed my sonic landscape from a young age. As a young man coming from a rural center, my opportunity to explore music outside of commercial radio was limited. Every time I found myself within the broadcast signal, I would tune in to CKXU as a teenager. The first time I heard John Prine was on CKXU, and it was a deep cut at that. They introduced me to many independent Canadian artists and led me to local shows which drastically altered the trajectory of my entire life. CKXU was a big deal to me, especially in the pre-internet days of rural Alberta. Since then, I've relied heavily on college radio stations across the country to help promote my own music and tours as an unsigned artist.
Describing CKXU, if you've never been involved in campus and community radio, is communication and its amplification. It's the amplification of underrepresented ideas, genres of music, musicians, groups of musicians as well. Overwhelmingly, there are certain voices that we hear in music and not in others. And one thing that we do as an industry of campus and community radio, just outside of CKXU and all of us as a whole, is the amplification of those genres, of those people. They don't get airtime in other ways. So that's what we're here for. And when it comes to communication, we just want to communicate what goes on in our community.
The way I'd describe it was basically campus community radio is the alternative. Absolutely mandated not to play the top 40. You turn on to any commercial station, that's what you're going to get. Even MTV and Much Music, that was their mandate. So it's this is how you find everything else, everything that isn't following on charting and stuff that can compare, that can stand up to it. That's how you discover the independent artists. That's how you discover the artists in your local area.
Yeah, so CKXU is a nonprofit organization, so we're incorporated under the Alberta Societies Act, but we're also a licensed FM broadcaster, so we also adhere to CRTC broadcast policy as well as legislation that's applicable to federal employers. So there's a bit of a weird duality there, but we're governed by a board of directors that's elected. It's comprised of students, community members, programmers, musicians, or arts-minded people from the community, all sort of working to make governance-based decisions. Below the board is myself and the staff, and we sort of work to maintain day-to-day operations. We do the sort of more administrative, boots-on-the-ground, public-facing work. So our structure is quite typical for a nonprofit. We operate with about, I'd say, 60 volunteers on a regular basis, and we're primarily funded through a combination of things. So first, which ties into our relationship with the university, would be the student levy. So we receive a semesterly levy from students at the University of Lethbridge, and we reside on campus. We also fundraise quite aggressively throughout the year through a variety of either events or fundraiser-specific fundraisers. So we do fund drive, we have highway cleanup, we run sort of a variety of like music or arts-based events throughout the year that are designed to bring in a little bit of money. We do sort of miscellaneous community fundraisers with other like-minded organizations, but the bulk of our money really does come, from the student levy. And anything that we don't get from those avenues is grant funded. So most of the programs and services outside of our day-to-day operations that you see are grant funded to some capacity.
A lot of campus community radio stations are nonprofit, thus meaning they're volunteer driven. And so there's always ways that you could be getting involved and being able to build your own skill set. Whether you want to host a show and learn how that goes and how to curate a playlist and be able to share what you're listening to, what you're liking, and why you're listening to and liking it, or why other people should care and listen to it, or if you want to learn how nonprofits work, whether it's through financials or through like board and governance and things like that, there's always those opportunities. There's the opportunities to come and learn and how to take in music. How do you genre it? How do you classify it? What sounds are you looking for when you're looking for that stuff? Is this something that other people are going to want to learn? How do you categorize that? How do you operate a library opposed to just like an archive? Or how do you have that integrated thing? Because a lot of the stations have the archive when it comes to local stuff, and then are still trying to have those new things. Or if you want to just like volunteer and learn how to coordinate with your community and build community, and learn how that looks and how you can take your own skills and apply that. Because it's like I think everybody wants to see a change around them, but don't know how to affect that. So it's like starting off somewhere like that. That's where you can gain those skills or build those skills around like-minded people that are just trying to do the exact same thing.
So our relationship with the U of L is constantly evolving. We work with a variety of, the university departments to make sure that our space is functional and up to code and, working as it is supposed to, as we are located on campus, but we are really a third-party organization on campus. The university doesn't have ownership stakes or anything like that in the station, and we like to say that we're not influenced by outside vested folk. So we have quite a good working relationship with the university, despite them not having their hand directly in the governance affairs of the station. And we've worked quite extensively over the past couple of years to really try and increase the impacts for students on campus as well. So that's looked like creating more partnerships with the Students' Union on campus, who's actually right up the hall from us. So they're very close by, doing sort of student-based concert series, working with them to provide more hands-on volunteer and work experience-based opportunities for students on campus as well. We do a lot of work with the Audio Engineering Society, digital audio arts students and music students, to sort of help them get, hands-on live and recorded sound experience that they wouldn't really have an opportunity to access elsewhere. We also provide reference letters for students, and of course our on-air programming opportunities. Like we've said, I think a few times now throughout, we're really focused on the impact that we're creating for the people that choose to invest in us. We really like to think that we have a strong ripple effect throughout the community, and that the people that come to CKXU to gain skills, to gain work experience, to gain like a creative output for whatever it is they're wanting to put out into the world, that they take that information and they take that knowledge, they take those skills, and they continue to utilize them as they continue through their life, whether that be at the station or not. We like to think that we're setting people up to exist in a way that is productive for them, regardless of whether they continue with us.
How does CKXU stay relevant in the oversaturation and overconsumption as well of media, of art? I mean, that's a good question. I think that's also an industry question as well. I mean, we're starting to see how we consume media and art into a different way. It used to be on the clock. We had to follow a schedule, where now it's on demand. So one thing we've tried to do is, of course, make sure that the things we do are available in the on-demand world. All the radio shows that you hear on CKXU, if you can't tune in at the allotted time, well, we PVR it for you. You can go to the website and you can tune in later. That's definitely one of the ways that we stay relevant in that regard. Being able to enjoy the programs you want to at the times that you want to. So nobody's, missing out on anything. No FOMO. Other than that, one thing that we try to do as well is make sure that we're providing support to our community. As I spoke about, previously, we do local mailouts for musicians. It's hard with it being oversaturated, not just here for us at CKXU, with the amount of different options you have to find new music and discover new music to you, not just brand new in general. Musicians are also having that same struggle themselves of reaching their local markets in particular. Like, we have Canadian content requirements here in Canada for specific reasons. We didn't just decide that we had to push Canadians to the front because we wanted to. Canadians weren't at the front. I think that's one way that CKXU in particular is going to try to stay ahead of the game. We try to focus primarily on more local content, and we have programs that focus specifically on Albertan content. Because when you go into your streaming services, it's so oversaturated, you don't know who's local. It's super cool being able to discover new music from faraway places, new perspectives, new sounds, new ideas. But I think those things are also happening here at home. So one thing I think we're going to try to do is continue to do that. Support local, support our local musicians, our local artists, our sound makers, our creators in general. Because they do a lot of work for us, artists in general. One thing I talk about with music is the emotional labor that goes into it. I think we've all read a book, heard a lyric, watched a movie, spent some time with a character or another person and their lived experience or their narrative, and we've been able to connect. We've walked away with it. And I think that's the most important and impactful thing within that is the human experience of music. That's one thing we're continuously going to try to do, is make sure that people are aware that there's a human behind that. And not only that, that human might have, driven you up Whoop Up Drive on the bus today. They might have given you the finger on their way back down in their Corolla sedan. But they're people who are in your community just like you, but they're making waves, they're doing cool stuff, and we want to help them out. As music director, my job is to serve our volunteers, make music available to them, review the music that's sent into the station, make sure it is quality for broadcast. And as well, I also maintain our physical library, the archive of it, deciding what stays and what goes. There's only so much physical space we have. And other than that, I assist our local musicians with obtaining airtime at other stations, providing my perspective for their press kits if they want, doing mail-outs ourselves of our local music here in Lethbridge to other radio stations. As the music director, especially for local musicians, I'll sit down and I'll look at your press kit. I'll let you know of the other information that I want as a music director. And that's potentially going to be the same things. Other music directors are going to look at that as well.
So my show is called For the Record. Highlights Alberta artists. Originally it was Alberta musicians, but lately I've been including like filmmakers, animators, sculptors, like the gambit goes like creatives, yeah, just because it's like the best part of it is like having guests on and just talking about what they're doing and just hearing the passion about it, and then hopefully somebody else hears it and goes and checks it out, I think is the best thing. For the Record also brings in local musicians and does live sessions, like right here in the lobby, right where we're sitting. We set up, we record it with them, and then we provide the mixes back to them. So it's basically like a free studio session for a lot of these artists that wouldn't be able to get those opportunities, because like studio sessions are really expensive, and so then they have those, and those are like demo ready, or they can get them mastered and released, and they have that capacity to be able to get their music out there. And then it's also bringing in musicians or other people that are involved in the music community to co-host and to get more in depth with what they do. Outside of just like, here's my music, please listen. You get to know about like their passion, what drives them, why do they want to make this kind of music, what kind of music do they like listening to, how that inspires them, how that not only just in music but just in life, how do they discover new music. The biggest topic we always go on is how they as musicians navigate the modern music industry. With streaming and social media, it's really easy to get out there, but it's also a vast ocean. You can get lost in it. So just like talking about how that affects them, and then talking about the local music scene and the Alberta music scene and what that means to that artist.
So my role with the station is, I like to say it's the non-fun parts of radio, because it's a lot of the administrative, it's a lot of the background work that needs to be done for our licensing, for our reporting. We actually report to almost 10 different governing bodies annually, so there's a lot of a lot of regulations and a lot of licensing and a lot of financials that go into making sure we're still in good standing with all of those bodies. Not only are we an incorporated Alberta society, we're also a licensed FM broadcaster, so there's sort of expectations both provincially and federally that we need to stay pretty up to speed with. It's also my responsibility to source all of the grant funds for the station, so a big part of my job is sort of working with the staff to identify what potential grant funding needs we have, what programs we could potentially be looking to either continue or create. That's actually how Di's program, For the Record, came about. It sort of started, as he said, as a passion project, and we sort of looked at it when the pandemic was first starting, and we're like, this is something that's really special, and that's sort of my job in a nutshell, is identifying the bits of the station that need additional attention, that need funding, that need administrative support, and working to solve those problems.
Big things in 2023. I mean, every single year in October we have our fundraiser, but we have it every single October, and we work towards an infrastructure project. The past couple of years, it's been a music library overhaul, making not only the room accessible but the content more accessible. That involves ripping music, more server space, and all of that. But mainly each year for the fundraiser, we come up with a brand new logo, a brand new theme. We throw some special events in there, and we have a radio telethon for the week. It is only CKXU, only local programming from 6 a.m. all the way until midnight, 8 a.m. all the way until midnight. So it's a nice week where programmers really stretch themselves, get kooky, get cozy, get funny, have fun on air. And the merch, we've been working with an artist for the past couple of years who's done a really, really good job. And this year's theme is bubblegum broadcast. We wanted something fun,
A little poppy,
because I think pop music it's such a generic term, but it encapsulates so many different genres of music. So bubblegum broadcast will be a nice tip and nod towards the genre that everybody kicks down but is full and just available to everyone as well.